Martins.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of Grassroots Chats. It's been a wonderful weekend of football, and let's just say the top four is getting spicy. Speaking about top four, we do not have Big Steve on the show tonight. He is somewhere enjoying himself. Well, at least we think he is. But we do have the wonderful Angry One, Smile to the camera, and of course, Neil Waddle.
Oh, I like the delay there. It was like, hang on a minute, what am I going to say?
No. I was going to say something very wonderful, but I decided to change my mind. How's everybody doing?
So
Everybody good?
Wait, hold on. So you're saying that Waddle was not wonderful? Then?
Well, it's not as wonderful as Messi, as Ronaldo, as Neil makes him sound, or makes us want to believe.
Different eras, man. Waddle was the Messi of the 80s.
Moving on, people.
What?
Moving on, people. If you like what you hear, like what you see, please hit that notification button. Like us, follow us on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, and you can listen to the podcast on every platform wherever you listen to your podcast. Okay, we're going to jump straight into it, people. We're going to look at some situations that have happened throughout the weekend and just, talk about stuff. So let us start with the fact that Arsenal is top four and it is their position to lose. Mike has always been worried that I'm going to jinx it, but if I continue to say that, Mike, are you still worried that I am jinxing the potential of you finishing in the top four?
Yes, because I heard there's a pandemic of dead cats around your area. You've been sacrificing them. Yeah, don't talk about my team. Yeah,
I didn't talk about. I was just asking.
No.
It is my duty as the host to ask. So I'm just asking.
I don't want your help. We don't need your help.
I'm not helping. I'm just asking.
We don't need your voodoo. Yeah, it's still a tight race. Let's just see how it goes. Okay, we've got Liverpool on Wednesday or Thursday.
Wednesday.
Wednesday. That's probably 3 points drop, to be honest. So, and if you guys win your games in hand, then it's tighter. So let's not get carried away. One game at a time.
No,
yeah?
On a serious note, though, do you think, based on the way you have been playing and the way the team is looking, and to be fair, every time you play Liverpool, it's always tight a bit, then something goes wrong, some mistake or whatever. But do you actually see yourself losing 3 points on Wednesday?
Yes.
Why?
Because they're better than us.
Anything could happen.
Yeah, okay. But it won't. So we're gonna lose that game, but it's a free hit anyway. Just have a good performance, no injuries and stuff, and we'll move on. I mean, if we get a draw like a win, to be honest. I can't see Liverpool losing to anybody, let alone maybe City. The moment the way Liverpool are playing, would you bet them losing to Arsenal or Man United or anybody?
I wouldn't, but I would believe as an Arsenal fan if I was. But well, it's okay. Let's not talk about your belief. Neil, how do you see, as I've been looking at the way Arsenal has been playing, the process is definitely, processing out. They're looking really good. Surely this is their position to lose now.
I mean, I'm not sure the way they've been playing has been amazing. That's not set the world alight. They've been winning games and it's been consistent, but it's not like they're up there with City and Liverpool or even the Arsenal of old of quality football. But they have been churning out some results. Is it there to lose? I mean, obviously they're fourth now, right? With games in hand. So
they're fourth and they have 3 games in hand to their closest rival, Man United.
I mean, Man U aren't a rival anyway. That's Man U trying to act like a big team and trying to get themselves out there. I think Spurs are the rival, right? I don't think if Arsenal don't get top 4 and Man United get there, that'll be like a little bit annoying. But if they don't get top 4 and Spurs get there, that'll be a different story, right? It's theirs to lose, quite rightly. They're not anywhere near as good as Liverpool or City. Could they get a result against Liverpool? Potentially, depending which Arsenal team turn up, depending on how he sets the team up to play. I think Arteta seems to be more realistic and and pragmatic with his approach. And as long as he doesn't set the team up to be on the front foot for the whole game, then there's no reason why a nice compact midfield and defence won't do wonders against them, if not get a draw, and maybe sneak a win. Liverpool can be suspect on the counter attack, which we know, and I think that's what Arteta should be, and hopefully is looking at, in order for him to be trying to gauge that fourth position. So depending on how he goes, I think personally they're probably better off getting a player sent off after 20 minutes and then just holding out with 10 men behind the ball for the next 70 and getting a draw, because I think
they
that works well
really
for them.
well. Yeah, they seem to play really well every time they're like. But we shall see. We shall see.
I don't think they were good today, though.
You don't think they were good today?
No, I don't think they were good today.
So, I mean, the game started off. I was going to ask the Anglo. So the game started off, and initially Arsenal seemed like they were all over Leicester. But then Leicester got control of the ball. Arsenal was, sitting well behind the ball, knowing when to attack. But they got 2 goals, and eventually they dominated the game. Do you agree with Neil, the angry one, when he says Arsenal didn't look too wonderful today, or they just did enough to win the game?
No, we looked pretty good in the first maybe 15, or you could argue that Leicester were slow, whichever way you want to put it. But we dominated the first 15. Should have scored probably a second if Laka had actually left a right foot and a left foot rather than 2 left feet that are facing backwards, because he can't shoot to save his life. But having said that, I mean, like you say, the last 20, 25, Leicester were just dominating us, and it's like we were just sitting out, waiting like a rope doping to wait and see if we could hit him on the break, but we couldn't really get out. Second half, we come back again into our own, started playing a bit more solid football, got the penalty. But to be fair, we had a couple of chances. We didn't have many chances, but we had a few chances that maybe could have come to something, if not for some good defending and blocking from them. And obviously, old Ramsdale, that guy that Neil keeps saying is whack, pulled out another save. Yes, it was middle of the goal, but still, he's got to save it. Do you know what I mean? So, yeah, I mean, we did enough, but I wouldn't wax lyrical about that performance. It is Leicester, so you have to say, well, it is Leicester. Leicester had no Vardy. Indeed, he wasn't on. Tielemans wasn't on. Let's look at it properly. But ultimately, a win is a win. That's what you can do.
So is it still down to the same story, Neil? Key players missing for Leicester. That is why they have their ups and downs in terms of the season. Or once again, as always, as Arsenal, you can only just play who's in front of you, and they did enough to win the game.
Yeah, I mean, Arsenal did enough to win. I don't think Leicester ever looked like scoring. It didn't matter how much possession they had. I think Ramsdale did make a good save. There's no doubt about that. But on the whole, Leicester really never looked like they were going to get 2 goals. They didn't look like that. Missing Vardy for them is just too big. I mean, you don't replace Vardy that easy with anyone really for Leicester. I don't think they'll have to look at a £100 million striker to get anywhere near as many goals is what Vardy provides for them. And that's a really tough replacement. So I think from Rodgers' point of view, maybe a slight change of the way that they play would be needed in order to play something slightly different and to counter and have 2 ways of playing, one for when Vardy's there and one for when he's not. Because eventually he won't be there, and he won't be able to play on the on the central defender's shoulder for much longer. His legs won't last that pace that he needs and how he's performed so well.
I mean, Leicester definitely missed Vardy today, just exactly as they described. But somebody that looked like he was becoming the creme de la creme, the man that came back from Nations Cup and went straight to the team, Thomas Partey. Thomas Partey actually won Arsenal Player of the Month. He's been looking.
Yeah,
he's been looking nice. He's looking nice. See what the sun can do for you. See what the sun can do for you.
I think he looks like the player they bought. That he was before they bought him, right?
Well,
basically. Long story short, he hasn't been performing until now.
Come on, you can't say he hasn't been performing until now. Maybe he hasn't to this level, but
to his expected level, to the 45 million for the 45 million we paid for him, he hasn't performed to that 45 million. He has now this month. Great, fantastical, but he's been there for at least a year, maybe. So
I mean, he did start. He was plagued with injuries and here and there, but he seems like now that he has had a good, consistent run, he's looking better and all right. And so how much do you think he has paid back now? Since you say
probably about 10 mil. Listen, he's shooting. Yeah, every time he shoots, I'd knock off a mil because that shooting is woeful. It's all over the
Hold
place.
on, he was
He
all right
scored 2
today,
goals.
right?
No, he's got a header. He's only
Yeah,
scored
and
2
he
goals.
hit the
Both been
bar,
headers.
which was quite close.
That was a cross.
That was a clearance. He was just getting get rid.
But yeah, no, but he's been playing. He's been playing well. I mean, we'll see what it's about against Liverpool because that's when he's going to have to mix it up in the midfield with somebody who can actually play. Because the game before, remember who we played, he had the freedom of the park just to do what he wanted. So
He did today as well. I thought Leicester's midfield was poor.
Yeah,
Was really poor.
if you give anybody time, or almost anybody, they probably look like a world beater because they've got time to pick their pass, pick their head up. But it's when you get pressured, which Liverpool will do next week. I don't know who plays. Whoever plays in those midfield three, I'm going to let Partey just walk around doing the fantango. They're going to be on him. So then we see what he's made of.
Well, we shall see. Yeah, go on, Neil.
No, I was going to say, if you saw Xhaka's heat map, he was up with Martinelli for a lot of the game. He was literally so far up the pitch, which was really, really odd because Xhaka isn't that type of player, right? But that just shows how much freedom they had in that centre of the park against Leicester. And I think that's a fundamental flaw for Leicester as well, where they need to work on who's going to be holding, who's going to be closing down. It was just poor from Leicester. And Arsenal were good enough to beat a poor Leicester.
But also, the last couple of games, Xhaka has been higher up the pitch, and we've been playing with a one holding.
But is that because there's been no midfield that you played against? Almost. So he's
possibly
had that, like, I might as well go for player up here now.
Or maybe, knowing Arteta, it's probably formulated. He doesn't really let you, just do what you want. So,
he's just like Xhaka, stay up so you don't have to make a rash challenge and get sent off. Yeah.
Basically, yeah, I think that's what it is, because he's not a DM and he's okay at passing.
Yeah. Well, it was a good game, and whether the angry one likes to admit it or not, it is Arsenal's position.
Stop
lose.
Stop there.
We shall see what happens. 3 games in hand, 1 point ahead of Man United. It's looking sweet and nice. We're moving on, and let's go to another wonderful London club. Let's talk about Chelsea. So Chelsea today, managed to get the result to keep that wonderful third position pretty much surely in their hands. But there was a lot of people were saying they don't think Havertz should have been on the pitch. Let's start with that, Neil. What do you say to that?
Yeah, he should have been. I mean, why wasn't he allowed to start?
No, I think you're talking about that flipping Jet Li elbow that he gave somebody.
Yeah, it's one of those ones, isn't it, that he's jumped up, he's gone in probably slightly too aggressive with it. For my likings, I thought it was a red. I don't understand, and I had queried the VAR last week, or was it the week before with you, about one of the incidents. And the same with the Arsenal game today. Actually, the VAR for the handball was like really, really long. The ref didn't see it. Was it clear and obvious that it wasn't a handball? Then he has to go and check. Well, they didn't tell him on the air it was a handball. Go and make a decision for yourself. They were like, well, 25 minutes later with 300 different angles. I thought it was a handball, and maybe the decision was right or wrong. But VAR in that game, I think Eddie Howe was right. It does make a mockery out of it. Like, there was that incident, and there was the penalty incident, which I don't understand what game that's not a penalty in. So for me, VAR isn't doing what it should be doing, because it should be assisting the ref, regardless if we think he's not overruling. Just like you said, tell the ref to go and have a look at the decision. If he still backs the yellow, fine. But give him some help and say, look, actually, I think you might have missed something, but it could be or couldn't be. Just go and have a second chance and make a proper decision, right? Based on all of the information that you can see rather than what you initially saw. And I think to take that away from the ref is I mean, that's fortunately now Newcastle aren't in a situation where they're struggling for like points at the bottom. But if they were, it could have been so much different. And who cares about the top four?
This could. Who cares about the top four? Yeah, very good question. This could actually, you never know. I mean, Newcastle have won 9 games unbeaten. Eddie Howe was, the manager of the month in the Premier League. He has gotten them to that wonderful, stable ground where, one loss isn't that bad. However, it's the same thing with, not the same situation, but you have Southampton who was doing really well, 1 loss and everything starts crumbling. You never know. This could be that start when Newcastle just start going from, I mean, it's clear that they're not going to be relegated. They're looking all good. So now, Eddie Howe, manager of the month. Chelsea, with their worries and people painting the club to be in crisis. Surely, with the situation that is happening in the world, and of course, Chelsea being, Roman Abramovich being sanctioned, it's not looking like it's going to affect them much, the angry one, is it?
Well, it shouldn't do, because they're already in a bubble, being that they're professional sports people and millionaires. So unless they've got some political aspirations or family in the Ukraine or Russia, they're just going to go out and play football, and that's it. So unless there's some restrictions on the way that they train, the way that they play, then literally nothing's going to affect them unless it's on a personal level. So Tuchel is going to set out the team, although they did struggle against Newcastle today, but that's probably more credit to Newcastle than anything. And Chelsea haven't been great in recent times anyway. I don't think that's going to have, at least not this season anyway, any impact. Maybe next season when they can't buy people, blah blah blah. There's just a transfer ban, or they don't know what their direction is. But as of now, all they have to do is play their games and stay out the season. So whatever else is happening in the world, barring actual world war, is, to be honest, a little bit irrelevant to those players.
So the thing is that in terms of affecting the team, it's probably not going to affect them from now to the end of the season. They'll probably grind out what they need to do. But they have been talk about. I mean, the players that haven't signed a new contract, most of them wouldn't. They'll probably want to leave now for sure because they don't want to be. I mean, immediately the sanction happened. One of the first things I saw online was Rudiger pretty much saying, I'm out of here, people. And if that happens, other players will probably go. There's also some news about Tuchel saying, "Oh yeah, I guarantee I'll be here at least till the end of the season." Is everybody jumping ship, Neil?
Let's be honest. Rudiger's hardly the stalwart for Chelsea, is he? He's not. As much as people don't like John Terry, at least he's Chelsea through and through. You've got Rudiger, who wouldn't sign a contract when he was offered one, was holding out for more money, and now he's got this lovely get out of jail free. I'm holier than all of Chelsea because we're associated with Abramovich. No. Firstly, there's a couple of things. One, the Premier League probably fucked up years ago when he bought the club, right? Everyone knew how he got his money and where it was from. It hasn't suddenly happened in the last 3 weeks, right? He hasn't suddenly been pumped in a load of extra money and all of that. So the Premier League, to say that he's no longer fit and proper, is literally an absolute piss take because he's not changed, right? Yeah. So this to me is of their own doing. So I feel sorry for the real Chelsea fans, the people that work at the club, not necessarily football players because they earn good money and they'll get to work somewhere else. But, like the kit man, where's he going to go if Chelsea don't have a football team? He can't just pop in. Do you know what I mean, right? So, yeah, but they've all got people. So is he wash kits? But I don't know. But do you know what I mean? You've got all these people that work at the club that could potentially suffer. Tuchel said he would be there to the end of the season. He said he'll even drive a coach, right, to sort of games if he needs to, if the sanctions are that harsh. I think what the government needs to do is let them sell the club, get him out, get Abramovich away from it. Let football be football, no politicalness to it, which would...
But hold on, no. All these sanctions, right, are mainly to do with Abramovich being able to sell the club, yeah? But the club can still operate more or less as normal.
No, he can't. So his money can't touch it, which is why they have to put sanctions in place, because he potentially could either launder money through it or give loads of money to Putin, which is, I think, what they think suddenly going to happen. Has he not been doing it since he's been there, or is he suddenly just going to...
First of all, how do you know? First of all, ladies and gentlemen, we do not know if he has been laundering money.
No, I'm saying this is why they're putting the sanctions in place, right? So these...
Wait, Roman, I didn't say nothing.
But
it was
just saying.
This is what the sanctions are for. There's no other reason to have sanctions in there, right? So they don't want to make sure that the money doesn't go through the club, etc.
So from what they've said is that there are certain situations that will affect, Chelsea, but they will be able to operate as a business. However, there will be some restrictions. Yeah. But then restrictions like, season ticket holders can actually buy tickets. I haven't really gone into the details. But I think there's a conversation where they might give him a window to actually sell the club,
which is what they need to do.
Okay,
it just needs to go, right?
But irrespective of that, right? I wouldn't say that the gate sales are massively what they live on anyway. So they're still going to have the TV deal money and other commercial revenue, although they're probably going to lose some sponsors.
I mean, 3 has already suspended the sponsorship.
Okay, and Chelsea didn't care. They wore the kit today anyway.
Yeah. But
because they can't buy kits because they're not allowed to spend any money.
But they're still gonna have enough money to pay the kit man and the gardener and the pie lady.
So this is the problem. The cash.
Well, they must do because how they playing the football?
Because the cash flow doesn't work like that for the football club, right? The same as all the other ones, like Arsenal doesn't work like that. They borrowed a shitload of money out of the pandemic in order to keep themselves afloat. So usually, I would assume that there's a good amount of money lent to the club, and then a good amount of money given back at the end of the season once they get to a certain point.
Oh well,
because they're allowed 500,000 per game, I think it was, for paying staff and everything else, and then 20,000 for travel or something like that, which seems to me really achievable. But I don't run a club, so I've got no idea what things cost.
Well, that's just Lukaku then, $500,000.
No, this is the wages are different, right?
Ladies and gentlemen, just so that you know, none of us are accountants or finance people, so
I don't think anyone's listening for our financial help.
We're just rambling on. The thing is, Chelsea played, beat Norwich 3-1, and then they beat Newcastle 1-0, and so they are looking, at least things are not being affected on the pitch.
But they struggled against Newcastle. That was a last-minute goal.
Yeah, it was a struggle.
Well,
Newcastle has improved. They're now a tougher team to beat. And so we never know how it's going. Sorry, ladies and gentlemen, some technical issues. But as we were saying, Newcastle do look, they're a tougher team to beat now. They're not before where you could just, run them over. But Chelsea, as coming to the end of the season, they probably will continue to struggle, or trying to beat teams might be harder mentally, things, no money and all that story, but we shall see. Now, moving on to the greatest player the football world has ever seen.
Chris Waddles.
In the 80s. What we're talking about now, Cristiano Ronaldo, man. So as much as that game was wonderful, Cristiano Ronaldo scoring a hat-trick, being FIFA's highest scoring player, I think that game even exposed even more how Man United are terrible this season, because we used 3 magical moments to actually just to beat the Spurs team. I mean, you could possibly say if Man United is performing as badly and we can still beat Spurs, it means that Spurs needs to look at themselves. But 3-2, it's a wonderful result, but it's not really going to do much because I don't think Man United will finish in the top 4. How did you see that game, Neil?
I'm sure I said it either last week or the week before. Man United are crap, but they're still up there and thereabouts, right? They're not playing well, but they're still digging themselves out, getting some points. So the game itself, I mean, it was some of the worst defending I think I've seen from any world. I want to say class. They're not world class.
Since your team played last week, right?
We won 6-0 on the weekend.
There you go.
We won, right? I just don't understand. Ronaldo was good, right? Let's not beat around the bush. He played really well. He was angry. He had a point to prove to maybe himself, because I don't think anyone's going to be questioning Ronaldo's skills or his.
They were questioning his hip flexors.
I don't know what was going on with that. To me, it was what I've said all along. Put him at the top, pass the ball to him, cross the ball to him, and he will do whatever is needed to do. Whether it's score 1 goal, 2 goals, 3 goals, 4, he will do what he needs to do for that team. If you play him somewhere else where he's going to drop deeper, man, it's just not going to suit his style of football and the way he is. And no one headers the ball like Ronaldo. No one is that confident with every single. I mean, his shot from outside the box, literally no backlift, right? It was so beautiful, that goal.
Wonderful assist from Fred. Nice flick, just putting it out there.
Maguire's own goal.
Maguire's own goal. Okay, I mean, we attack Maguire on this show week in,
we should.
Week
Not me.
Yeah, everybody does, Daniel. Everybody does.
I think the truth. It's not exact.
So,
truth.
And to be fair, he has had some very poor performances. But there was nothing he could do for that own goal. There was nothing. There was really.
He could have.
No, there was not. What could he have done? Well,
he could have not.
The man was stretching. He was stretching to defend the ball. It's not like he actually was trying to score. So what's everybody making?
I really hope he wasn't trying to score, because that's another level of shit.
I mean, it is.
I can't believe you're defending him right now.
Unfortunately, because if it was Varane that scored that goal, we probably wouldn't even be talking about it, because
but no one else would have scored it.
Yeah, but people stay on their feet. Stay on your feet, mate.
He was stretching to defend the ball. I mean, early this season, Eric Bailly had some wonderful own goal, pretty similar. But
Yeah, and what
everybody's
happened to
attacking.
him? He got dropped, and then no one cared about it, right? But Maguire stays in the team. I think that's the difference. Regardless of what happens to Maguire, he doesn't get dropped, does he?
Well, no, he doesn't. Which we don't know. I personally don't understand why he has that captain ban on. But Ralph Ragnick and everybody else understands why. Once again, in terms of ask your question.
I was gonna say, how bad is Rashford though?
Oh yeah, well, Neil, can we?
We're talking about the United game, right? It flows all in, right?
Yeah, it does. Yeah.
I've already said the good. How good there. Ronaldo was.
We'll get there.
The bad is now we're just going to tick a player off as we go.
Okay, so are we going to tick off every single player? But we'll get to Rashford. We'll get to Rashford. Well, anyway, since you brought him up, might as well just continue. Rashford starts the game after Gary Neville and the likes were making noise. Oh, he should have started against City, blah blah, to give more depth. He started against Spurs. As you have asked, how terrible was he? The angry one. Gary Neville sent out a tweet this week where he was saying Marcus Rashford should not be deceived that everything that he has in life or he's trying to achieve is based on the performances he has on the pitch. So him thinking, if I leave Man United, I'll walk into another team and all of a sudden my form will come back, it's a no-no. That if he wants to leave Man United, he needs to get his form back, at least, and show teams why they should buy him. Do you agree or disagree with that?
Well, did Dele Alli do that? I don't think he did.
We're not talking about Dele Alli, though.
No, but I'm just saying it's the same. It's the same. I'm doing a parallel.
And look at the team he has gone to.
Yeah, but he still moved to another team, though.
Yeah, because, I mean, you're right. There might be somebody that will go out there and say, it's Rashford. We can bring that form back. So, I mean, somebody will obviously buy him.
Maybe with Newcastle. Who knows?
Who knows? And they can afford him now.
So the question is this: Are you saying, not me by the way, are you saying that Rashford is basically whack?
No, I'm not.
Or is it?
I didn't say.
Or is it? Or is it a drop? Or is it a drop in form?
It's a drop in form, and unfortunately, it's a drop in form when the entire.
It's been a while now, isn't it?
Yeah, some people last longer. I mean, Harry Kane went how long without scoring? Is that not a drop in form? Yes.
I wouldn't say he's back in form now.
He is. I mean, he's scoring.
Yeah, but Harry Kane offers more than just goals. Which is the difference between him and Rashford, right? Rashford doesn't offer much else.
No, the point was just it's a drop in form. If you don't think it's a drop, so okay, are the levels drop in form then whack? Or I don't know if you say it's a drop in form,
I don't think he's had form this season. I think that's his problem, right? I think he's had no form at all. He's got 4 goals, and I think Brentford, West Ham,
or has he peaked? Has he peaked?
No chance.
Why?
I mean, he's 23, 24. Has he picked him? Why is the comparison with Dele Alli? 2 different situations.
Overrated England players.
Thank you very much. So I don't know why
Rashford is overrated now
because he will be. Yeah,
I'm not saying he's overrated.
I'm asking,
but if he's
it's a simple question.
Yes,
you said it. I'm asking.
I'm saying he's overrated. By anyone that would have him in their team in the starting lineup is overrated Rashford because he hasn't deserved the starting position. His performances have been poor. His run rate's been poor. His passing's been poor.
This season.
Yeah, exactly. But
I don't know what he... I, personally, am not sure he knows himself. I don't know what he is. Because is he a striker? Is he a forward? Is he a winger? Because he's okay at all of those things. He's master of all trades. Jack of all trades and master of none, in my opinion. So he just needs to pick a position and then hone his skills for that particular position. Because he's not great at assisting or crossing. He's hit and miss at scoring. You play him up front, but he's not really a striker. You play him in the wing, he's not really a winger. And I think he's suffering. His form is suffering because of that, because he doesn't really know what he's doing. He just put him on and he goes and plays in a 2-2-2-5-6, whatever formation Rangnick's playing. So probably he would do with either a different manager, or a new team, because at the moment he's just stagnating.
That is a good point in terms of picking a position. But Rashford is actually pinned as a forward. So the likes of Mane, the likes of when Martinelli is playing now, Sancho, they're not wingers, but they're forwards in the game, which is what his position is.
But those guys have specific skills that are linked to. So, for example, Sancho is a decent pass of the ball, a decent cross of the ball. Martinelli is quite direct and runs at you. His pass is not that great, but he's very direct and he's got a lot of energy. Rashford can kind of do all of that, but none of that.
So
It's
the
kind
thing
of
with that is that when you're speaking about Sancho, if you go back to about 8 weeks, everybody was saying he's whack. He's not feeling, and all of a sudden, 8 weeks down the line, he has found form. He's doing wonderful things. Rashford, as I said, I think you make a very good point in terms of maybe pick a position and just make it yours. But all this conversation wasn't happening last season. So for you to go from he started the season injured, came back, had off and on injured, now off and on form. For you to go from that to automatically saying he's whack.
I didn't say he was whack. I asked the question: is he whack?
No.
I don't
Whack
think
or overrated.
I didn't say he was
I
overrated
didn't call
either.
your name
He was
though.
just.
They let the man defend himself. Relax yourself, the angry one.
First of all, I said he's overrated by
Well,
anyone that wants to put him in their team this season. His performances this season aren't good enough. So
I agree.
you can say, well, he can't live on his past glory.
Yeah. Oh, yes, he can because that's what.
No, he's only
bought.
24. He hasn't earned it. Ronaldo can live on past glories.
Dele Alli is an example that Mike has brought up like 2 times.
Yeah, and he
Whether
shouldn't
you
be
like
playing
it or
either.
not. Okay,
And actually, he wasn't starting for Everton. So that just shows that even Lampard's not got the faith in him.
Rashford starts.
No, he shouldn't
Rashford
be.
starts once, and all of a sudden he's overrated.
No, I never said that he was overrated for starting. I said he's overrated. I would.
why are you getting defensive?
Yeah, well, you keep mentioning it.
I'm just asking.
No, Julian,
How am I defensive? I'm supposed to ask questions. How am I
So
defensive?
Rashford's overrated. He shouldn't be starting. End of. You can't live on past glories at 24.
To be honest, he's out of form. He's out of form. Let's just see. I mean, he's not getting a run in the team for whatever reason. Sancho is there now for over him. I don't know who's on the other side. Elanga.
Yeah, Elanga is on form. Yeah.
In form. So whether he's overrated or whack or just out of form, he's not really going to get a decent run in the team to change that. So just when he comes in, he needs to do his bits and bobs until next season. Then we'll see. If he continues to be whack next season, then we might have to say.
I mean, the point is the man's form has dropped, and then it makes me laugh when it makes me laugh when players start talking about, oh, if I don't play, I'm going to leave. And which, I mean, Rashford, it's not like he was quoted anywhere actually saying it. Nobody knows where that news came out from. But
people trying to get rid of him.
Well, I mean, the conversation is.
Do you think he should be playing and starting? Like, what's he done to deserve that spot? Like, why would you have him on the pitch rather than Cavani?
I have no. Well, to start with, in terms of having him on the pitch rather than Cavani, just legs, movement, being able to run back and defense. Yeah, but his movement
was poor, right? And
it was poor on the day.
He was really poor, but he didn't. And that's what I think. Everybody knows Rashford for someone who's got some pace, right? He's still 24. Yep. You said he can live on past glories. I don't think he can. He's only had 2 good seasons.
You can live on what you have already done to get you to where you are. Why do they pick players for national teams? What you think is for what they'll do in the future? They pick for what they've done in the past, Neil.
They're picking for form for that season, right?
Of course, but the form that you're talking about is in the past. So everybody lives on past glory, just so that you know. They don't pick them based on what they would do potentially. They pick them based on what they've done.
Walcott.
That's
not true.
So
true.
Walcott was in the World Cup, didn't he?
Walcott.
That only. Well, you're right. That's an exception to the rule right there. I can't even argue with that one. That's an exception to the rule right there.
But I'm just saying he isn't playing well. His stats don't back him up. He's obviously got no confidence at all. And at the moment, Man United need to grind out victories. And I don't think he's the player to do that for them currently.
I think he's the sort of player that needs to play on a regular basis and needs to have the confidence of the manager. Like he's one of those arm around you sort of players. I don't think
Rashford is an arm around you guy though. Personally.
So why is that form then?
I don't know. There are many. I mean, you can mention like 50 reasons why a player is out of form. You just mentioned one, which I don't think is that kind of player. I said this last week. The man goes every season, his form goes down. And yes, he's covered by the fact that he will come back to form if he's given a chance to play, and which other managers have done. This season, unfortunately, he's in a position where you have like 4 players ahead of him right now that are playing well. So, and the only way you can actually get back to form is if you play. And unfortunately, when you're out of form, you're given less time to get back on.
Do you think that he's getting the game time because they've got no right winger to come in?
I think he's getting the game time based on squad rotation and Ralph actually trying to give him a chance because of the player he used to be. Because other
Well,
than
we're
that,
24, man. We're talking like he's dead wood, like he's had it.
how many Premier League games has Rashford played?
Like he's Dele Alli.
He's Dele Alli. He's not even a championship player. How many? He's played 198 games. He scored 59 goals and he's assisted 39.
There
On the
you
right
go.
hand side, he scored 4 goals in 24 appearances with five assists. He doesn't do much at all from that side of the pitch. Centre forward, he's only scored 21 in 74, and from the left, he scored 34 in 99. None of those stats back him up as the most prolific player in the world, and I don't think he
True.
offers enough for assists. My problem is he reminds me of like Walcott. He gets to that age, and Dele Alli, and they haven't progressed enough, and they've got to that plateau where they never are going to get any better. So maybe he's already peaked. Maybe that's it. Maybe he's no longer a United player, and I think that's just the issue, right? Maybe he'd be doing well at a smaller club.
I mean,
Or maybe he wouldn't.
In terms of being picked, and okay, so Walcott, for example, and I think if we go back with the situation with Walcott, is like Mike said, I think he got to a point that he should have picked a position and should have made it his. Was he a winger? Was he going to be a striker? I mean, the man at some point had some contract negotiations with Arsenal saying he wanted to play up top. And then he went through a period where he was scoring goals, signed the contract, and then didn't play up top. I think it's too soon, even, and if believe it or not, so Jesse Lingard, you could say, has picked, he's 29, went to West Ham, had a good spell, he's come back to Man United. So he might have picked at Man United in the sense that it's not going to work for him there anymore because, you could say there are better players in that position. But I think it's too early for Rashford and even Dele Alli to say,
But
picked.
Walcott was getting consistent numbers every season. Even when he was injured, he'd still get double figures. The only issue with Walcott was he didn't match the to me unfair hype that was placed on him. So you're expecting him to be Henry and do Henry things, and he's just Theo Walcott giving you Theo Walcott things, which is the double figures, few assists here and there. So he was always going to be on a hiding for nothing because he was never the player that they thought he was to begin with.
So it's the same situation with Rashford though.
So with Rashford, I don't think he's ever been overly consistent. He's just had flashes of brilliance here and there. He'll go on a little run here, then he'll dip. So he's just a good player. I don't personally have any aspirations for Rashford being anything other than what he is. I'm not saying he's going to be the next Cole or anything like that, or Dwight York. He's not. He's just Marcus Rashford, which is a good player. For you guys, really, he is really a squad player for me.
At the moment, yes. You're right.
United.
At the moment, yes. He's a squad player at the moment.
But he's a squad player in this totally crap Man United team. That says it all.
But then, you see, once again, if I say this, you guys are going to say it's past glory. This season, he's a squad player in a very low-performing team. 2 seasons ago, when he scored over 20 goals, he was a key player in a team that probably wasn't performing really well, but he was a key player. So, I mean, you can write him off this season, which there's no argument for. But for you to say, he has gotten to his peak, or he's this, he's that, he's that, I think it's way too early, personally.
So where do you see him going? Where do you see him ending? Because in the beginning, he was going to play on the left for a little while as a forward, and then one day progress to your main striker.
No, the main striker thing, I think, was just fans talking. The man openly said, "I don't want to play in the middle." He openly said that I don't like playing in the middle. So
Man United are just going to go and buy another winger, or this Elanga.
Yeah.
If Elanga keeps progressing, Rashford's just going to be a rotation guy because he's not going to go overtake this young guy who's coming up behind him.
Because it's form. It's the same.
And you guys also have the money to go out and buy somebody who's better than both of them. So
if it gets to that point, yes, then he'll have to go to another team. But it hasn't gotten to that point yet. So
no, he can stay at Man United like Phil Jones.
No.
Be a squad player.
Phil Jones has like a Houdini acting that he does. I don't think they actually see him there. He's just walking around. He has some magic skills. Anyway, the last question on the Man United Tottenham before we spend all evening talking about Rashford is, before that game started and Neil put in the WhatsApp group of what Son and Kane are going to do Maguire, I actually expected that to happen. I actually expected the Tottenham forward to pretty much enjoy themselves against the Man United defenders.
I've got to
Does-
stop you there because
Yep.
I don't think people are going to know what I wrote in that WhatsApp group. First of all, you said what Kane and Kane and Son are going to do to Maguire, and then you said they pretty much enjoyed themselves for the whole game. So I said they were going to retire him, nothing else. Just needed to get that out.
Okay, and what that is different from what I've said, right?
Very,
Okay,
very
cool.
different.
All right. So the point here is this testament to how whack Tottenham is showing how, a very terrible performing Man United team and the greatest duo in the Premier League couldn't range them.
No. Listen, that game was basically Ronaldo versus Tottenham. Let's not pretend.
Okay, so 1 man against 11. You're helping my point here. You're really helping my point here.
If you didn't have Ronaldo,
11 men
if you didn't have
playing against
Ronaldo,
one guy.
if you didn't have Ronaldo, you'd have got
Nobody's
battered.
arguing that. But then, yes, you're telling me. So are you telling me?
Three moments in the game. Three special. So
Okay.
listen, you played 90 minutes. Yeah, Tottenham played reasonably well. Blah blah blah. Okay, they got an on goal. Played reasonably well, but you had 3 moments in a game that the best player in the world that was probably ever seen scored. That doesn't make Tottenham whack.
It does. I'll tell you why it does.
How does
You're
it?
playing
Because
a terrible defense. The man scored 3 goals. Are you telling me the best duo?
But they scored 2
Are you
goals.
telling me the best duo in the Premier League cannot make more than 3 chances and score?
But they scored 2
but
goals.
Is that 3? That's not 3. So first of all,
hold on.
telling me
Hold on.
First of all, let me finish because let me finish.
Wait, so they're whack because they didn't score 3 goals.
They're whack because you're playing.
That doesn't make sense.
The worst defense in the top 6. You are the.
How many teams go there and whack Man United other than Man City?
I have Watford beat us 4-1. 4-1.
When was that?
Is that the point? The point is you are playing the wackest defense and you are the best striking force in possibly the league. And you're arguing here that because of three magic moments, Tottenham is not whack. Okay.
Well, yeah.
It's good argument. Good point.
Okay, so what you're saying is if Ronaldo only scored 1 goal and Tottenham scored 2, what does that mean? You just had 3 moments in the game.
Ronaldo scored 1 goal.
Yeah, but you said 3 moments.
If and maybe so something that's already happened.
Okay, so let me make my point clear. Ronaldo scored a hat trick, which basically made you win the game, does not make the team that you beat whack.
So,
it doesn't make them whack. It just means that Ronaldo had an exceptional game, and basically every shot that he took went in. That's it. That's all it is, and that can happen in football.
The answer to the question is it doesn't make Tottenham look whack, because that's what I asked initially before you started going round and round in circles.
What was the initial? It went on to some form of rant about Kane and Son. But I don't know if you were asking if a Tottenham whack or a Kane and Son whack. Because that's the same like asking if Man United are whack or Ronaldo's whack.
What he was saying was they're whack because they didn't win.
First of all, every week you guys say Man United are whack. So when you're
whack.
And then according to the angry one here, the Arsenal team was whack for not beating Man United because Man United is a low performing team. Those are your words. I can bring out the clip for you if you want. So why is it that when I ask it against Tottenham, all of a sudden it is they are not whack because they scored less goals?
They're not even the same thing. They're not even the same thing.
You're playing a team. You're playing a team that is terrible. You're supposed to be top 6.
How are you terrible? How are you terrible when you're basically going for top 4?
It's
ain't that terrible.
For top 4.
You're playing crap and you're still winning games, so you're not that terrible.
We are terrible. You've got
the best squad out of those guys fighting for the top 4. Man United have got the best squad.
I'll tell you who has the best squad. I'll tell you who has the best squad. The best squad is the person leading the table. So all this player, and we're talking about this player that's lost form, that's gone here, that's gone here. Those things don't make sense.
So the manager.
So the manager, what? What does the manager have to do with this?
Who has got the best squad out of Tottenham?
Squad.
Arsenal.
Okay. You're telling me squad for squad, man for man. Man United is better than Tottenham.
They've got better players.
Like who? Tell me.
Ronaldo scored.
You have called one.
You have called one. That's all you needed that game.
That's not the point. The point you're saying. The point you're saying here. The point you're saying here. Squad for squad. Tottenham, Man United has better players. You have mentioned one player. And you're mentioning the one game. You said squad. Squad.
Fernandez is not bad. He's not a good player. Sancho is not a good player. Varane is not a better player.
Wait. So right now, you're looking at the season, how the season has gone, and
You've even got, even though we're saying you're whack, you've still got better players. You're not playing well.
If you're not playing well, it doesn't matter whether your name is Messi. If you're not playing well, you're not playing well. Oh yeah, Messi is the best player in the world. How's that helping the team if he's not playing well?
Okay,
please tell me.
Okay. Let me put another context. So we all would agree. Take out of context of football for a minute. We would all agree that Fury is a better boxer than Dillian White, right? So if Fury loses to Dillian White as a one-off, does that mean that we all still know that Fury is a better fight?
So right now, Fury is number one, right? And he's number one because he has beaten everybody he has fought. And you say, looking at style, looking at everything, yeah, Fury is the best boxer. If Dillian White beats him, Dillian White is better. Whether you like it or not. So you can say, yeah, you know what? He was lucky. He was. No. If Dillian White, using your example, on the day, April 23rd, if Dillian White knocks him out, he's better. Let's
bring it back.
Okay, so then the only way to decide it then is the end of the season then. So neither of our points are valid to the end of the season.
It's not valid. Because all I asked was a simple question.
Because hold on. Because one-off game, you're trying to back the crap team. Be objective.
Right. Be objective about.
So what was the initial bit? We're trying to work out whether this is why I was saying Kane and Son aren't crap. The rest of the Spurs team is pretty shit and has been all season. Man United have been shit all season, and Ronaldo isn't crap. If we're looking at the squad and we're looking at who's better or not, well, Man U are higher than Spurs in the league, so that puts Man U at a better place than Spurs. And I've been saying all season, Man U have been playing poor, but they're still up there, which is the most frustrating thing for anybody. However, Spurs have got games in hand, so potentially they could go above. But if you're going to look at player for player, De Gea is better than Lloris, without a shadow of a doubt. Fernandez is probably better than what any of the Spurs midfield.
Probably.
Three. Okay. There's no doubt about that. Sancho on the left probably isn't as good as Son. Definitely isn't as good as Son on the left. But Sancho is probably better than the new player that they've signed, who's playing on the right.
Kulusevski.
Sancho is, right? Sancho's struggling to bed in, but definitely Sancho is a better player. If you were going to be buying one of them, which one would you buy? He's the one that you're going to buy, right? That's the one that you want. Kane's definitely scores more than Ronaldo, but he's definitely not better than Ronaldo. Because you're going to pick Ronaldo because it's Ronaldo, right? The best player that's ever graced God's green earth in a lot of people's opinion, and the highest goal scorer in the league. So he's definitely better. Defense-wise, you're equally shit. I ain't picking any. I don't want any of the back three from Spurs. Maybe Varane I would keep in the United team. And I think you'd probably agree that that's the four. And I think that's the places that Conte wants to replace. And whoever comes into United is going to go, right, we need to get new fullbacks, wing backs, or however we want to play. That's the key area. And maybe they're both going to go on and look at the midfield area and go, right, actually, we want someone who's going to dictate the game, who's going to, one for dictating the game, and then one of them for firing up the rest of the players. That's pretty much what's going to happen. Man United, week in and week out, they're up there. It doesn't make a difference who they've got in their squad. They seem to be doing well. They're fourth. They were fourth in the league coming into the week today.
So let me ask you now. The angry one I just said, Man United has, apart from City and what's it called, Liverpool, Man United has the best squad. That's what you said, right?
I didn't say that. No, I said you've got a better squad than Tottenham. And out of the top four that are fighting, so that's the Arsenals, right the back, the Arsenals and the Tottenhams who are fighting for the top four, yeah, and Man United, those are the three fighting the top four. You've got better players. Not that you're performing better at the moment, but you've got better players.
So you can mention the player and how wonderful they look on paper. If you're not performing, you're not performing. So now you mentioned the defense and how you wouldn't pick any defender from both teams, which is fine. And you can, is Varane not a good defender? He is. Is Luke Shaw not a good player? He is. But they can be as wonderful. No, my point I'm trying to make here is you can be as wonderful as you can. You can have all the wonderful names you have. If you're not performing, you're whack. We mentioned...
But performance is temporary.
Is it? And then when we're talking about Rashford, you might as well just wait. If performance is temporary, you might as well just wait.
Well, that's what we said.
That's not what we said.
So
We've said let's see
Anyway,
next season.
On
Rewind
paper, on
Rewind back. I said
it's
let's
not
wait till next season to
VHS.
see
You
how
can't
he
just
performs.
rewind back. Let
Then don't run it
the
then.
man talk.
it's on paper, okay, on a completely, open, unobjected basis. Total market value of Man United's players is 711 million, and Spurs.
I forgot about that guy.
What makes
Spurs
you
are
laugh
hang
is
on, wait, let me finish. Spurs
makes
are
you laugh is
522.
we
So
week in week out, people criticize players and say how whack they are, how this they are, and all of a sudden I say players are whack, and you're telling me about their price tag. What does that have to do with what they're playing right now?
a lot
We
because
sit
they
down,
have transfer
we sit
value.
down here, and we talk about how Pepe is whack. I know
Yeah.
Pepe is a good player.
Yeah.
No.
His transfer is this and that. So if I say he's whack, you start telling me about his price tag and this and that. What does that have to do with anything? What his performance?
Okay. But you're saying that Son and that your original point before all this went around, as far as I understood it, was that Son and the best duo in the league, which is Son and Kane, were whack because they couldn't beat or they couldn't score more goals than Ronaldo
First
to
of
beat
all,
Man United. That's a ridiculous argument.
First of all,
It's
my
a one-off
question
game.
is, what does this say
Ridiculous.
about these people?
Didn't say anything.
What does it say? I did not
It's a
say
one-off
these
game.
guys are whack because they did not. I said, what
Didn't
does
say
this
anything.
say when you're playing a low-performing team that has a terrible defense and all of a sudden you can't beat them and you're a team that's going for top 4? What does this say about you? Simple question.
Didn't say
And
anything.
that,
It's a one-off game. What will it say?
it's a one-off game
And
for Spurs that's
time will
been the
tell.
most inconsistent team. This is the same team that beat City when everybody expecting them to be spanked. And what does this say about the team? So you can't tell me they're inconsistent or they need to do this. It doesn't say anything because it's a one-off game.
But we already know. But we already
If-
know they're inconsistent. So that's a moot point. But going back to the original point, we will see who's whacker or who's not. Whoever gets top 4 in it, I guess. So whoever finishes above, because they might lose to you today and then go on a run, or vice versa. It's just a one-off game. It doesn't really prove anything. In a game like that, neither of you play particularly well. To be honest, I think Tottenham probably played better than you, actually. But on that day, Ronaldo was outstanding. So, if it wasn't outstanding, Ronaldo scored a hat-trick. So in the context of that particular game, it doesn't really show anything because Ronaldo had such a fantastic game. Spurs were all over you in that game, at least the first half. They were all over you. But Ronaldo had a great game.
better than Man United.
on the day,
Middlesbrough got a better squad than Man United.
it's either I'm speaking very terrible English here, or you people are
Yeah.
failing to understand the question I'm asking. Okay, let's assume I'm speaking terrible English. Then let's move on. So you won't understand my English then. If I ask a simple question and we go around in circles, and then at the end of the day you still don't answer my question by telling me about a price tag, about a price tag or something, then okay, I agree. It's the question I'm asking. Moving on. Speaking about a player in form, Eriksen for Brentford. Is this an example of how, one wonderful key player, an individual, can change things? Because Big Steve and Dunk were mentioning, saying how, Brentford might be pulled into relegation. Do you guys still think so? Neil?
They're going to be pulled into battle. I think Dunk's got a little bit of an unfair heart on that one because he's a Leeds fan. So he's obviously going to want Brentford to be way pulled in than anything else. But Eriksen won't. He's going to give them a lot of emphasis initially. How well he can play in that team is going to be a different story. He's still new. He's still excited about coming back in, and he did play well. And he's assisting, and he's good at set pieces, and that's going to help them absolutely no end. And Ivan Toney's a great person if you're looking to be passing to, because he can put the ball in the back of the net. So that's a dream partnership from. If I was a Brentford fan, I've got a great player that can hold up the ball and score in the 6-yard, 8-yard, anywhere in the box, and I've got a player that will find him. So that's great. Will it get him out of jail? I hope so. It'll be nice to see Eriksen staying in the Premier League again. I don't really know much about the rest of the Brentford players, other than their holidays to Dubai. So yeah, they'll be there or thereabouts. They've had what most teams have when they come up, right? The first time, they're great. They've got a lot of togetherness because they've come up with probably without the best players in the championship, and they've come in so they've got that really good togetherness as a team. How well that will last them is another story. And towards the end of the season, they may find themselves battling on the last game of the season to stay up, which I think will probably happen.
If they do stay up, and with
Yeah.
Ericsson and all that, do you think that encourages them to buy more players and to beef the team? Would they take that risk? Because the second season is always the issue, the angry one.
No, I don't. I think if they do add, they'll be shrewd. They'll maybe buy from people who did go down. Maybe bring a few academy players in, but I don't think they're gonna shoot their load and go crazy. Because, like you say, that's a risk. You don't know. I mean, especially if you only just struggle to go up. And I think Brentford staying up, in part, is reliant on them, but it's also reliant on how bad the other teams are. For example, Everton lost again. Yeah, other teams, essentially, it might just come down to who's worse. Not so much that Brentford have done well, just that there are two other teams, because Norwich are gone. Two other teams that were much worse than you. I mean, Leeds won, so that changes the scenario. But Ericsson will give them, a little bit of class and stuff. But I don't think him alone is enough for them to stay up. Having said that, last game of the season, they need a goal. He assists it. Yeah, okay, they stay up. But I think they're still going to be in the mix. So, and I don't think if they do stay up that they will splash the cash
At the moment,
next season.
they're 3 points behind Crystal Palace, who is in 11th. And with everybody playing each other in that area, Brentford make 2 more wins, 3 more wins. Obviously, that'll put the pressure. And you have Everton and Leeds. Everton, man. Everton. Yes, Everton. I mean, they have some games in hand, but what's to say they're going to win that game in hand? I mean, they lost to Wolves at home. Things don't seem like it's kicking for Frank.
I think they're going down, to be honest. They're going to be the casualty, like West Ham that year when they had a team that was too good to go down. They had Defoe, they had everybody, and they just weren't playing together as a unit. So in a way, it's kind of what we talked about earlier about having the names and the players, but on paper, but that squad not performing in this particular season because they've got loads of names, but they're not performing, they're not gelling. So on paper, you'd say that they've got the best squad. They probably would have one of the best squads ever to go down, other than the West Ham's squad one time.
They're level on points with Watford. However, they have 3 games in hand, so that could help them, or that could be a cushion. Or do we see?
Yeah, but you got to win. But you got to win them though. You've got to win those games.
Well, we shall see. Okay, after that wonderful long debate, people, let's move on to player and flop of this week. So we should start with Neil. Player and flop of the week.
Oh, player of the week is a tough one. I wanted to say Ronaldo, but I didn't want to get you too excited from it because he's had one good game. He's been beautiful. He was lovely, and I enjoyed watching him play. And he's definitely got to be, without a doubt, the player of the week. I don't think anyone played better than him. I don't think anyone's probably played better than him in the Premier League this year as he did in that game. And he must have a sore back as well.
Flop?
Oh, I'm going to give it to my old friend and Frank Lampard. I know he's a manager, right? He's gone in, and he might be the only manager other than Dean Smith that's gone, and I think he had a bit more impetus, that's gone into a club and hasn't rejuvenated it or given it that at least for like three games and gone, right, you know what, we can really battle here. Like, I think...
Do you think the damage from Benitez went in so deep that Super Frankie Lampard can possibly, maybe only just do enough to keep them up this season?
What damage did he do? What damage
I didn't say the Benitez did. I said, I mean, mentally, the Benitez era, they won 1 in 13 or something. And then you had players like, Benitez is straight to the point. Oh, this player is this. And then Digne left, and, spirits are down. So, and the manager has to go in there and, as you say, boost this thing. Yes, let's make things happen. Now, with Dean Smith for Villa, they hadn't won in the last 5, but they were not particularly playing badly, and the players still seemed like they were good to go. So with Everton, how bad does the mentality have to be that it's so hard for Frank to boost it?
I told you there was a massive problem at Everton when the boyhood hero absolutely loves the club and is in financial crisis at his current club, hemorrhaging money, going to be taking 21 points off them, still decides to stay at bottom of the championship rather than going to Everton. So there must be way deep-rooted issues, whether it's he knows that the players don't get on or there's too many egos. I mean, we can put as much on the rest of the club as it is, but players need to take some ownership regardless of who they are. And they're playing, right, week in and week out. If they're playing with passion, commitment, and desire, then that's all you can. You go down, but you're still putting in that effort. You go, you know what? I'd rather win 30 games in the championship next season than watch us struggle.
Any example? Not that. Do you have any example of a team that went down and we actually went? You know what? These guys gave it their all. Unfortunately, they were unlucky. Is there an example?
Yeah. What about when West Ham went down? They went down after Tevez left, didn't they? And then they sued for millions. They were giving it their all. That was on Sheffield Wednesday when they went down. We gave it all. I think we lost on the last game of the season or drew and we went down, I think, which was a sad state of affairs.
There's been quite a few teams as well. You can see it on their faces when they go down there. They're crying their eyes out, like the stuff. But my theory with Everton is they've bought a collection of names who just don't care about Everton. Just don't care enough.
Is this
it's just a job? So
the players you're talking about, but this January window or from beginning?
The players that they've collected over the last couple of seasons. I don't know. Yeah, but the players who are currently there now, however they've come in, I don't think all of them care enough. So obviously they'll try, they'll play football, blah, blah, blah. But it's not the Everton of old when you'd break your leg to keep your team up. I don't think it's that type of team at the moment because Benitez is gone and they're still getting poor results. So it can't just only be, Benitez was X, Y, Z. There has to be some fundamental issue with the players because they're still getting the same results or even worse, to be honest. With a completely different manager, completely different style, completely different everything. A Premier League legend. If you can't play for Frank, don't know who you can play for. So when you don't have a connection to the club or the manager, it's just a job, then, isn't it? And then when it's just a job, you might give 90 or 8%, but you won't be giving 110 all the time because it doesn't mean as much to you. So a lot of these players, I'll mention Dele Alli, even though he's nothing to do with him. But as an example, the players that have big names like Ali's and that, they'll go and play somewhere else, no problem. They're not affiliated to Everton. So I think personally, it's only my theory that they just don't care as much or enough as, say, a team that's just come up together. They're just a collection of individuals that are playing the same team, in my opinion. And that's why they get such poor results, because they've got, on paper, decent players. They also have an inexperienced manager who doesn't know really how to get the best out of them in this type of scenario. So that's a double problem. But
they have Newcastle, Crystal Palace, West Ham, Man United, and Crystal Palace again as their next 5 games. So let's see what happens. Player and flop of the week, the angry one.
Well, I mean, I could have thrown in that Cucho Hernandez in there from Watford, 2 big boy goals. But I mean, you can't really look past Ronaldo because he's got a hat trick. He's pulled that team. He's just won the game for that team, not almost single-handedly. Obviously, about 3-2. I mean, and your 3 goals win you the game. I mean, come on, that's a big game. Yeah. So I'd give him player of the week or whatever we're calling it. Flop of the week. I couldn't see him that stood out as a flop as a player, but I would give it to Sunjai today for the Arsenal game when he did that mad handball. I don't know what that was about. He just put his hand out and handballed the ball and essentially put the game beyond his team's reach. Yeah, the Turkish guy who plays for Leicester. That handball was unnecessary and unbelievable, and there was a guy on the line anyway, so I don't even know why he did that. But it kind of killed Leicester a little bit after that. It was just unnecessary. So he's flopping.
Okay, a Ronaldo hat trick, and Arsenal still in the 4th spot place that is theirs to lose.
This guy.
And with a wonderful, great belief that once they beat Liverpool on Wednesday, that 4th spot is theirs. Well, It's been a wonderful episode, Neil and the Angry One. We shall look forward to see how the great teams unfold and see what happens. Big Steve, wherever you are, hope you're having fun. But for now, it's goodbye from the Angry One. And of course, it's goodbye from Neil.
Bye.
Bye.
I